Good afternoon, Wilna. So nice to see you again. It's been a long time since we met. I think the last time was somewhere around 2012.
Right.
But I met you, of course, many, many years ago, I think sometime in 1984 for the first time. And at that time, you were visiting India and you were working here
Yes.
for some time.
Yes.
What were you doing at the time?
Actually, I worked. I came in contact with Rajan Chaudhary, and he would like to learn from me because I'm a Gobelin tapestry weaver artist, and he was very interested in the technique. So he asked me to come to my factory, and I did. And he would like me to teach his weavers this technique. So I spent about 6 months doing that, sitting with the women, and I would eat there with the women and chatting in the few words, Gujarati, I know. But it was a very nice time. And through that, I learned to know many people from NID, and I was invited to be a visiting faculty and taught the 5th year students Gobelin tapestry, but also I gave them orders to make things and do things with textiles, with weaving. So that's how it started, and later on I got in touch with the School of Architecture. I was also invited there to give as a visiting faculty to teach, and I taught them card weaving, also a completely different something. And I also taught people on a wooden frame with nails in it, and then put threads, and then they could learn also the tapestry weaving a bit, but then on a small scale, so that it would be possible to finish it also in a short time. So that's more or less how things.
But how did you land up in India? What brought you to India?
Actually, I met a couple. He was director of the Ideal Chemicals in Hyderabad, and his wife was an artist.
Okay.
My family knew these people, and they came to stay in Holland. And then they got to know I'm an artist, and so I got to meet her. And they came to my place. I lived in a place called Delden at that time in Holland. Had a gallery there and my weaving studio, and so they came to visit, and we had a nice time chatting. And they invited me to come to India. Before, I had never had any connection with India, no interest of traveling even. I only knew from the one book in the library that was there about India, what India was. I mean, of course I knew it from the maps, but then we got in touch, and then I was interested in the culture and also the handicrafts, of course, of India. So I started in Hyderabad actually to travel around. And I traveled around for 3.5 months from through the south. I went by boat to Sri Lanka, came back. And on the way, I visited all the sort of weaving things I could find. Studios, factories, whatever I discovered, I visited. And that was actually my guideline by traveling through India. And then I came to Trivandrum. There's also a school of art. And somebody suggested the name of Kinnari Lakia in NID in Ahmedabad. So I wrote it all down. And later on I went back to Hyderabad, and then I went on my travels to the north. So I came to Ahmedabad, went straight to NID and asked for Kinnari, and then it seemed she was in the States, so I got in touch with Sheeta Lakia, and that was only for 1 week I was in Ahmedabad, so that was my first contact with Ahmedabad. I enjoyed it very much, and then I traveled for another 5 months through the whole of India.
What is the most memorable thing that you remember from that trip, of the textile that you saw that you thought it was amazing?
That was my visit to Paitan. I went from Hyderabad to Aurangabad, visited Ellora, Ajanta, and then I discovered that there was a factory in Paitan. And at that time, was very difficult to get there.
Yes.
I went by bus, and I took beautiful pictures of the weavings. I was really stunned by what
Yeah,
they
the
were doing.
Paithani sari is still one of the most beautiful,
So beautiful.
saris.
And that was in '84, so that was a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
No, sorry, '78. This was in '78.
So
I made a
even
mistake.
earlier than that,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. In '78 I did that. I traveled for 9 months. And at that time I visited Python. And a few years, that's in the 85, 86, I went to Srinagar and to Gulmarg. And there I discovered another kind of weaving, which is also close to tapestry weaving, but there's a big difference.
Okay.
That in India, in Python, and also in Gulmarg, like you have the warp and the weft. So they weave from left to right, also with all the colors different.
Laid out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Gobelin tapestry is a totally different way of weaving. So should I explain a little bit?
Yes, please,
of
a
that?
little bit.
Because in Gobelin tapestry you have the weft.
Yeah.
Sorry, the warp.
The warp, yeah.
And under the warp there is a design first, a drawing.
Yeah.
Then you make the drawing at the size of the tapestry that has to be there. And then you turn it in the reverse, and that you pin under the warp. And then you start weaving according to the drawing. And the difference also is with the other kind of weaving, that with Gobelin tapestry, the warp is completely covered. So you beat it till the warp is not visible anymore. So you only see the weft. That's the big difference.
And why did people make Gobelins in Europe?
Actually, the origin.
And where does it come from?
The origin is in Egypt, actually. The Coptic weavings.
Yes.
That are the first examples of that kind of weaving. And then it traveled through the Middle Sea around to the south of France.
Yeah.
And there they started weaving bigger tapestries, Gobelins, to hang in churches as wall hangings because of the climate. So it would be warmer and the sound, and so that's how it started actually.
Yeah. And I think Belgium was very famous for the kind of...
Belgium, especially Arras, but also in Paris you have the manufacture de Gobelin, and there comes the name Gobelin from.
Okay.
It's a family, and their name was Gobelin, and because they were famous for this kind of weaving, the tapestries are named Gobelins.
Okay.
With capital letter.
So you mentioned the Coptic weave.
Yes.
And there are very few Coptic weave pieces left in the world.
Yeah.
And we are very lucky that we have at least, I think, 4 pieces in the Calico Museum here.
Yeah.
And I happened to see them one day. So I was very excited because I know in the Netherlands, I think I saw one piece at the Allard Pearson Museum. But I did do Coptic art at one point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as one of my special lectures. So I really got very excited when I saw these little Coptic weaves here. And I was explaining to my friend who was with me, and the lady who takes you around, she also overheard. So she said, please explain to me also what Coptic weave is. But Coptic weave started somewhere in China, actually, the weave that kind of came along the Silk Route.
The Silk Route.
And then ended up in Egypt, where they, innovated on it. And then it went further again as a new technique.
Oh, that that far
That's
back.
That's what I remember from my...
It.
Yeah.
I haven't. But so as far as I know, the origin, but it was beginning of the
Christian era.
The Christian era.
Yeah, yeah.
So the Chinese thing.
So that, and it has gone down like this along the way. So also into Egypt, which is almost towards the end of its journey.
Yeah.
What has happened here? You got a little bit of that Ikat feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's similar, right? No?
No, it had nothing to do with Ikat.
Okay.
No.
So ikat weaving is a different technique.
Totally different.
Totally different.
Yeah.
And but you must have also visited Patan at that time when you came.
Patan, yeah. Sure.
And what did you think of the patolas?
Yeah, beautiful. I mean,
Beautiful.
but that's a totally different technique.
Yeah.
I mean, they tie and dye the warp and the weft, and then they weave it together.
Yeah.
So then again, you see the warp and you see the weft.
Yeah.
And it's like the weft is also from left to right. You have a shuttle and you weave up. With Gobelin tapestry,
there is no shuttle. Or is there a shuttle?
No.
No shuttle.
There are only small wooden sticks. You wind the wool around that, and every color has a different stick. And like some looms are, for instance, 5 meters length.
Yeah.
And then you work with 3 people, or even more on it.
Yeah.
And you weave left, you weave right, and at a certain point you come together. I don't know how you call them, where you put the threads through, the combs.
The combs, yeah.
Like if I weave on the right side, I move my feet, and somebody else is somewhere else. But then these combs are only 40 centimeters.
Okay. So you work in that much space at a time.
And then if you have to work in the middle, because that also happens, you have to put everything together. So you connect the 2 combs, and then one person weaves these parts together. So it's a very complicated technique.
What is your most challenging project so far?
That has been one tapestry which I've woven in Holland, in Almelo, the town where I also live now. He was a Dutch designer, and he made very detailed drawings. So he made a drawing of this size and asked me to weave it. And he wanted it woven in 1.50 meters by 2 meters. Okay. And I looked at the drawing and I thought, this is very small. It's impossible to do this, almost. So I enlarged the design and started the weaving. But halfway I was so desperate in a way. It was so stressing. So I didn't know what to do. If I cut everything, then I haven't finished anything, and so I completed it. But it took me 6 months to do it. So that was the most complicated thing, because actually the drawing was too detailed to weave in that size. It should have been 2 by 3 meters.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
But I have photographs of it, and I think I've shown you.
Yes, you've showed that to me.
Yeah. So that was for me the most challenging things.
And have you worked also in India on large projects?
The largest project I've worked on is a restoration of a 400-year-old Gobelin, which was property of the American ambassador and his wife. So they were in Delhi in 86. 85, 86 at that time, and they were looking for somebody who could restore that tapestry. So I think it's Vikram Sethi who knew somebody from the NID, and he said, I know only one person who could do this. So the lady called me and asked me to come to Delhi and look at the thing. And I know the technique so well, so I looked at it and I said, I think it can be restored. And then she said, oh, I'm so happy you're going to do it. And I hadn't said anything like that, but then I thought, well, I can. So I said, I'm going to do it.
Nice. So. What do you feel? You've been in and out of India for so many years. Do you see any cultural changes?
Yeah, of course. I mean, things change. Like I've seen Ahmedabad changing also from 78 when I was there for the first time, 84, and you see the whole culture changing. But you mean especially
something
textiles?
that kind of stands out.
Well, in early days, like the Sabarmati, you had the sand and
Yes.
the little river, and now the river is very big.
Yeah.
And I always loved to see the dyeing, of saris and along the river, and the washing of the clothes and everything. And that has
completely
disappeared. And also the cows on the street and the village feeling what I always had with Ahmedabad.
Yeah, now we are
that's gone.
Metro city.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
and on one way, it's fantastic to see, and also to see the broad river now.
Yeah.
That's of course beautiful, and the riverside.
Mm-hmm.
But I also miss the small shops, and especially Utrang.
Yeah.
That I was very disappointed this time. I actually came specially this time because I didn't want to miss Utrang.
Yeah.
And there were hardly any kites, no shops on the road, and men making rope with glass.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed that so much.
That has disappeared almost. There are a couple of people who still do it. And I was also surprised because till last year there were still people flying also on this side of the city. And music would start early in the morning at least. Yeah. But this time there was no music, no kites, no shouting. And then when I went into the old city also, it was quite subdued. It was more about being seen, having been there, rather than actually the festival itself.
Yeah. And it was such joy always.
Yeah. And so I was very happy when I got home and I opened my balcony and I saw this line of tukkals.
Yeah, you took a picture.
Yeah.
I saw the picture. Beautiful.
So that was kind of heartwarming that, somebody still got that feel.
Yeah.
And yes, some of these festivals have completely changed. I know that Baisakhi has come back to Pakistan, which is including kite flying, which they were banned from enjoying for so many years. So it's coming back there, but it's kind of losing out here.
Yeah, it's really
very sad. And if you ask kids today the different names and, of the shapes of the kites, etc., hardly anybody knows.
No, and it has also influenced my weaving in that sense. A lot of my designs, my Gobelins, are with tapestry, with
kite flying.
Kite flying
as a theme.
I made several series of and also, of course, the whole journey through India has given me inspiration for my designs.
Artistically, where do you think India stands today?
Yeah, I think there's happened a lot, especially in the 80s.
Yeah.
When I was also connected with Canora Center for Arts.
Yeah.
That's exactly 40 years ago now.
Correct.
And I was there at the beginning, and it was so nice to be there and part of this art scene.
Yeah.
It was really booming at that time. So I think a lot of artists have enjoyed being there and working there, and still are actually a few. But a day before yesterday, I visited Canora Center and met Mrs. Canora also, and she remembered the group who was there, like all the people I met at that time. Some are still there, and it was really wonderful to talk about it.
And I think in the 80s, Canora was kind of the last bastion of culture before you went to the more residential parts of, Drive-In Road or Satellite Road.
Exactly.
But today, of course, everything has spread out much further.
Yeah. And I was also a bit shocked how big it has become. It's done in a wonderful way. I mean, the lawn is still very nice, and it's beautiful to sit there in the compound and have a chai, and wonderful. The atmosphere is still very nice.
Would you like to do a show in Ahmedabad again sometime?
Yes, I would love to do that.
And would you have to create new work for that, or you have a collection
No, I have a collection, and because I'm not able to sit behind a loom anymore, so I have some physical problems with my back, and I can't do it anymore. But I'm always excited. Like yesterday, I visited the new museum, Kasturbai. Yeah, that was such a wonderful thing to see. And one thing, there was one beautiful shawl woven in Kashmir, and I was stunned by the design, and of course I can see how they've woven it. But then there was a text next to it that said halfway the 18th or 19th century they stopped doing this because the work was too elaborate. And that also I recognize this. That's why it must have been so beautiful to do this, but then
it becomes too expensive or too much effort for too little in return.
But that happens to me also as a Gobelin, because it's so time consuming.
Yes.
So you can't live from it.
Yeah.
It's more passion than.
But are there Gobelin weavers still?
Not many. Because I was one of the very few at a certain point. Now I think slowly
more youngsters,
young people are at least interested in textiles. For a long time it was not. Like in Holland, I find, it's my experience, people are still not very much interested in textiles.
Yes, the textile industry in the Netherlands especially has gone quite down because they are supplied from other parts of the world.
Right.
I think Stork had one of the last machines for printing, and that went digital, and but China has come up with much faster, much cheaper machines. So even those kind of companies have eventually kind of phased out.
But also for artists, like textile art is not so recognized.
Yeah.
Like if you see a painting and you see a tapestry, and the painting.
Yeah, the tapestry belongs more to the religious side. Probably what people have in their mind, that it should be in a church, or it should be that kind of a...
Maybe that, but also it's also seen as some household
goods.
Goods, and that's
true.
That's a pity.
That's actually really it's a pity. But there's always, I think, over time, some kid will realize that this is something that is beautiful, and maybe we'll start with restoration and end up doing more.
Yeah, because it's such a wonderful.
Yes, when of course Rajan was a big influence here, and a lot of students have learned from him, and he has this whole weaving setup with all these women who he trained.
Yeah.
So probably they will be able to take his legacy forward.
Yeah.
Maybe train new kids and things like that, but textile will always be, I think, at the heart of Ahmedabad.
Absolutely.
And between Surat and Ahmedabad, we will, I think, and our sari wearing tradition will keep that kind of alive, I hope.
Yeah. I hope so too.
Yes.
But it's one other thing I noticed through the years.
Yeah.
Like I used to walk around and cycle in a sari, and the sari would be
normal.
Normal. Now you hardly see people wearing saris.
Yes.
So
now it's, if somebody wears a sari even to work, it's like a special occasion. Offices have a sari day for women. Then everybody turns up in saris.
Oh, nice.
Usually it's on Women's Day that such things happen, but you have sari day at work, or traditional clothing wear at work. So then everybody turns up like that. But now you have very modern saris which are just clip-on. And they're ready. You just tie them here and then put the pallu over it and you're done. You don't have to kind of figure out. And even sari blouses have become very convenient.
Because I always had a problem with
growing. And so now I also wear knit materials blouses, and the special ones have now a patch here. which so you can have a normal brocade blouse, but with elastics down this side,
nice.
so you don't really have to worry about it.
Oh, that's really nice.
So there are innovations happening. These tie and wear saris also come with pockets.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's lots of new things happening in that sense.
I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, it's a lot on social media.
Oh, okay.
But I think still a lot of women prefer to just wear it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
a cotton sari is just nice to wear.
I
like that.
love it.
Yeah.
But also the silk saris.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to speak with you again, and I think learning about how gobelins are made and your experience of having traveled through India and seeing what you did from 78 till today is quite interesting.
It was also for me also a nice experience and wonderful to see you again
Thank
after
you.
so many years.
Yeah.
Thank you.